In this video, I'm going to talk you through Chapter 16, Speaking to Persuade, and focus on your persuasive speech assignment. Let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, there are a couple of notes about the psychology of persuasion. First, persuasion is when there is more than one opinion or option on your subject. So for example, some people think that the Lakers are the best NBA franchise of all time. Some people think it's the Knicks. Some people think it's the Bulls. Some people think Serena Williams is the greatest tennis player of all times. Other people don't think so. So persuasion only occurs if there's more than one option. So for example, if you're trying to, for example, taking the position that people should drink more water is, there's not really another side to that. Water's not bad for you. There's no reason why people shouldn't drink more water. It's typically a fairly straightforward health suggestion that there's not a lot of controversy about, right? So that's something that I guess it would be persuasion to try to get somebody to drink more water, but it's so not controversial. It's not like somebody's going to argue, well, no, an option to drinking more water is drinking more soda, right? So there have to be at least two legitimate opinions on a subject. So for example, one of the examples I'm going to use throughout the video is banning smoking on college campuses. And there are definitely different ways to go about dealing with the problem of smoking on campus. Some campuses have specific smoking areas. Some campuses ban smoking. Some campuses allow smoking everywhere. Not too long ago, smoking was allowed in buildings on some campuses. So there are several options to deal with the problem of smoking on campus. So that's first. If there's not more than one option, then you're probably not persuading. Also, another really important thing about persuasive speaking is that you want to consider what the audience will think about your position and try to work that into your speech. So for example, smoking on campus. There's at least two kind of audience members you want to consider. One are non-smokers. Most non-smokers are generally going to agree they'd rather not have smoking on campus, and so that gives you some perspective. But more importantly, you want to consider the people who are smokers and who do smoke on campus, and you want to take their objections seriously and answer them in your speech. So in your speech at strategic places, you're going to say something like, I know some of you are thinking banning smoking on campuses is pretty harsh, and one reason is because smoking is a stress reliever, and since taking college classes is stressful, many people like to smoke between classes to de-stress. So answering objections involves stating the objection and then saying what your response to that is. So my answer would be, even though smoking is stress relieving, smoking is very bad for your health, and there are many of more healthy ways to relieve stress than smoking. So I would work that into the speech at some point. Okay, and then finally, there's something called the target audience. And so the easiest way to think about the target audience is you don't have to persuade people that already agree with you. They're not part of the target audience because they're already on your side. So in a typical presidential campaign, there is a segment of people who are always going to vote Republican. They are not the target audience for Democrats. Similarly, there are always people who are going to vote Democratic, and those are not target audiences either. The real target audience of a persuasive speech are people you can realistically expect to persuade, and so they're not people who don't need to be persuaded, and they're not people who could never be persuaded. You don't want to ignore or alienate those people, but you really want to focus on people who have not made a decision and who are open to the question. Okay, so that's the first video. I'm going to wrap this up and then I'm going to get started talking about your actual assignment.